countdown. Or we've been live the whole time. Either way, I don't know, y'all.
We're
I'm
on.
busy.
It's on. It says meeting is now live streaming on Facebook.
There you go. And I just stuck my tongue at you. So there we have it. You should see what it looks like on my end.
I'll tell you what it looks like over here.
Hey everyone. Woohoo, we made it. We've been working for the last 8 minutes to get on live, but here we are. Hi, Pat.
Hi, Christy. How are you? Hi, Julie.
Hey, Pat. We're so excited to have you here. So let's just give everybody kind of a intro about why we brought Pat to Facebook Live today. And that is because he is going to be one of our featured speakers at our big All In event this Thursday. And let me just back up to say what is All In, and then we're going to hand it over to Pat, and he's going to share us a little sneak peek about what he's going to be sharing. But the big All In event is a full day event for anyone who knows anyone who has a significant disability or has significant support needs and wants to be included, or it's a school system wanting to include a student really well or more effectively, virtually or in person.
That's
Christy,
all.
That's it.
That's it. It's really just Julie and I hanging out on Zoom all day on Thursday. But wait till you see the dashboard. So any of you that were at the Summer Leadership Institute, think of it like a mini Summer Leadership Institute. Instead of 5 days, we're doing it one day, which may become more than one day. But we had to bring Pat back because you may remember, I don't know, Pat, your Facebook Live was about as viral, I know we can't really say that anymore, but as anything we've ever done.
Yeah, so viral used to have a nice connotation to us, not so nice.
It used to be like, I went viral. And now it's like, you got what? So what have you been doing since August? And what are you going to do with us on Thursday?
Great. Well, thanks. I'm so glad to be here. And I was really honored to be invited to present here with All In on Thursday. I think it's going to be terrific and well worth everybody's investment of time. So yeah, I'm going to be following up on my inclusion myths and the law presentation from Summer Leadership Institute. And the basic, so I'm a special ed attorney and a dad of a 14-year-old young man with Down syndrome. And so it really kind of, the presentation arose from this frustration that I have felt as my legal career and as my special education practice has really developed. And that's that we have this obvious problem, and that there are many, many incredible students. And I have to confess, it's fine. It's All In as a conference for all students, but it's got a little special Down syndrome piece. I'll confess to a soft spot for students with Down syndrome. These amazing students who have so much to offer their school community and so much to benefit from being effectively supported in inclusive settings. And yet in many places across the country, these students are like automatically, just by virtue of having that little extra copy of the 21st chromosome, sent off, often from before kindergarten.
Absolutely.
Into self-contained settings. And so normally when we see this disparity between what is and what should be, when it comes to the law, we say, well, you know what we should do? We should lobby Congress, and we should get a law passed that protects the rights of students with disabilities and requires schools to provide them what they need in the correct environments. But see, here's the thing. That's already been done. In fact, it was done in 1974, 1975. Yeah. You guys don't have to answer this question, but I'll just tell you. I wasn't even around in 1975.
Whatever.
Not long after, but I wasn't even around in 1970. So as long as I have been alive, there has been a law on the books that explicitly says that students with disabilities are not supposed to be excluded from general education simply because they need supports that can be provided to them in general education.
Pat, just like you made me think of something that somebody said the other day. So you said that not to be excluded from general education, and maybe we'll put a pin in it, but I've been hearing a lot from people now with COVID saying, well, nobody's together. So they can't, are they with social distancing and physical distancing, they can't be with their friends anyway. How is that such a narrow view of access to the general curriculum? Like, do you hear that too? Do you know what I'm asking?
Yeah, no. Yeah. And one of the things, so one of the parts, so this is going to be inclusion and the law with bonus COVID content. So I prepared some extra slides because to answer your question, what have I been doing since August? And the answer is, in the special education world, answering lots more questions about COVID. And the simple answer is, how has the law changed in light of COVID? Not at all. Congress, I often say we got to go back to Schoolhouse Rock, how a bill becomes a law. Well, IDEA is a law that was passed by both houses of Congress and signed by President Ford. That tells you how old it was, right? Well, last time I checked, the House of Representatives, Senate hasn't passed any amendments to IDEA, and the president hasn't signed any law amending it. So the law is as it was from the beginning. So is there still a requirement that school districts provide a free, appropriate public education? You bet there is. Are schools still required to provide that in the least restrictive environment? You bet it does. What does that mean in the face of a pandemic? And that's going to vary by district, right? What does it mean if our district's all remote? What does it mean if our district is offering in-person learning, but I have concerns about my students' health or a family member's health, and I want to keep them home for that reason? That's a more complicated question, except that I can say with a pretty high degree of confidence, if the school's answer is a one-size-fits-all approach, we don't do inclusion here, or inclusion doesn't matter anymore because of a pandemic, or
they can't be with their friends anyway, so
somebody else is doing, or they're not allowed in the door. Anytime you're being given a one-size-fits-all approach, there is very likely a legal problem there, because the entire thrust of the special education law, which again has not been changed, is that it's individualized determinations and designed to provide access, equity, and inclusion.
Yeah, Julie, what do you think about all of that? That kids can't be by their friends anyway, so we don't need to do inclusion.
Yeah, so really we have to think about what is our definition of inclusion in this time and space. And I like to think of it as access to general education, curriculum, and peers. And all those things being done given the same opportunity that anyone else in your system has. And being really cautious, like Pat said, about any one size fits all approach, meaning, here's an example, all kids with IEPs do this, right? That's a one size fits all approach. And that's where Pat's saying, wait a minute, we have an individualized education program for this student. Therefore, we should be able to individualize the supports for kids. So I just kind of want to reiterate it, but I think that people are kind of misconstruing the point or the spirit of IDEA, which is giving all kids access to general education content, curriculum, and peers.
Yeah, I think that's important, because otherwise it's such a narrow, it's like, oh, we're only doing inclusion so you can be by your peers. And since you can't be by them because of COVID, why do we need to do inclusion? And I think it misses the boat, if you will.
The other thing I think that's an important thing to keep in mind is, so it is of course true that the switch over for many school districts to either remote learning or hybrid learning or some kind of a modified school environment is disadvantageous to many students. Although not all. I think that's one of the interesting things we're finding. Some students are actually doing
really
much better without the pressure of having to be in a school building, and some of the stuff that goes along that. But for many students, that is a challenge, social, emotional, instructional challenge. But the special ed law is all about, yes, but it doesn't impact all students equally, right? So yeah, all students sort of struggle not being around their friends, but not all of them receive that struggle in the same way. And not all of them possess the same capacity to respond to that struggle in the same way, which means we need to be looking for what individual supports do these students need to navigate this acknowledged and kind of unavoidable challenge.
Well, so Pat, you might be saying that for some students, we need to increase the social opportunities for students. Mm-hmm. So you might be saying that for some of our learners who really, really thrive on that interaction, or without that interaction aren't able to access a lot of different things, we might be, as educators, thinking about how do we double down on social interaction? How do we increase or support kids more to be connected virtually?
Right. Yeah, because if we're admitting that, okay, so the students now, because they're remote, all of them have a reduced level of interaction. So, kind of what do you want to tell us? Again, but that doesn't affect all students equally. Not all students have that same need for social interaction, both to develop their social emotional skill set and also to give them the necessary motivation and ability to access the curriculum.
Yeah. So I know you don't get to stay with us all day, and we had a little trouble getting online. So Julie and I are going to stay on a little bit longer after you, Pat, and tell people more about the event and show them the dashboard and stuff. As you think about what you're most excited about to share on Thursday, is there anything else you want us to know about your session or what to expect?
Yeah, so I'm certainly glad to be providing those COVID updates, because it certainly is a really big topic of conversation. And I think, unfortunately, just watching the news, it's going to become once again an even greater topic. I'm hoping that we're going into it better prepared, both as families and as schools, than we were in March or April. I also think it's helpful that we know a lot more about the disease and how it's spread than we did back in March and April, when it was more of a mystery. But I'm excited about that. The other thing that I found really encouraging, both encouraging and discouraging at the same time, about the presentation in August was how many of the myths that we talked about, people were saying, oh my gosh, I've heard that. They said that at my meeting just last week. It wasn't as though I said these myths and people like, that must be some crazy upstate New York thing. Nobody would ever say that here. Come on. What were you kidding me? Really, that it was pretty universal that people were saying, I heard that said exactly the same, that those things are said in my school district all the time. And I hope the presentation, sorry, go ahead, Julie.
No, I was just going to say, can you just share 2 or 3 myths without giving much detail? But what would be examples of myths? Let's say that we've got someone on Facebook here who wasn't at the summer leadership. They didn't get to see it all. And they're wondering, can you give me a couple examples of myths that you'll be talking about?
Yeah, I'll just give 2. One would be they can't keep up with the general education curriculum. So, you're at a meeting and you say, I would like them to be included in, whatever it is, the 3rd grade class. And they say, well, it's Common Core and it's long division and it's reading narrative nonfiction and it's, splitting atoms and science and whatever. And all this, and all of a sudden you're sitting there saying, oh yeah, I mean, I know she doesn't really even know all our ABCs. Like there's no, yeah. And they say, well, then your daughter would be very frustrated and confused and maybe even act out if they were trying to keep up with the rest of the kid. Oh yeah, that does make sense. And that's actually, again, a complete myth, because the law is very explicit that the fact that the student needs a modification to the general education curriculum is not a valid basis for excluding them. They can make progress at their level toward their goals within the framework of the general education. So that's one. Another one is that you say, I think my student could participate in general education, but they would need a one-on-one paraprofessional to help support them. Maybe it's to help prompt and redirect. Maybe it's to help work with modified materials, or maybe it's because they have behavior needs, break system or some kind of sensory behavior needs that requires one-on-one adult support. And the school will say, well, but that's a very restrictive setting, you see, because a one-on-one is the most restrictive setting. So if we put them in a 12-1-1, you see 12-1-1 is less restrictive than a 1-to-1. So that's what least restrictive environment says. We're supposed to put them in least restrictive, and 12-1-1 is least restrictive than 1-on-1. And again, because the numbers seem to match up, but that's what we used to call back in philosophy class a category error. Like you're not comparing apples to apples, you're comparing apples to oranges. So that's one of the myths we talk about, is that big surprise, a paraprofessional is a person, not an environment. So that's a very common myth that again, I have encountered, and that the more I give this presentation, the more I find, again, it's encouraging to be out there helping to be a myth buster and empower people with what the facts are. Although it's discouraging that this does not appear in any
that
way
you
to
still have a
be,
job.
yeah, a unique thing. Right. Yes, exactly.
Oh my gosh, so amazing. So
Yeah.
amazing.
I used to tell that, Christy, when I used to talk to Julie's class at SU, that to aspiring teachers, I would tell them, please put me out of a job. I'll do other legal work. I'll find something else to do. I love this work, but I would be very happy to reach a day when parents don't need a lawyer to navigate special education.
Yeah, for sure. And anybody who's like, oh, I need more of this, I'll do a couple things. I'll put the link to our viral talk with Pat during the Summer Leadership Institute in the thread here on Facebook. More importantly, you can have him for a full hour on Thursday. So Pat, thank you for sharing a little sneak peek, which wasn't even a sneak. It's like I've written all these notes once again of things that we all can learn from you. So we look forward to seeing you on Thursday for sure.
Looking forward to it. Great to see both of you.
Thanks,
All right.
Pat.
Okay, thanks.
And so, Julie, I'll put some links in there. I was also wanting to say today we'll do some giveaways if folks are on, and then wanted to say that this is all going to be recorded during Thursday. So if you're like, I can't come on Thursday, or what time is Pat on Thursday? I've got to teach because we're doing all that good work. Just know that all the sessions will be recorded and you'll have access to them forever. So what do we want to do next, Julie?
That's really important. So let's just make sure that people who are joining us get a chance. Now, Christy, you're on Facebook Live, so you can see comments.
I don't think I can. I'm going to try while we're talking, but
go ahead and try while
okay.
I'll share my screen and just share a couple things.
Okay.
So the first thing I want you to know is what Christy just said, but I want you to see an actual visual of it so your brain can remember it. And so it's a virtual event. There will be lifetime access. It is November 19th. It is scheduled from 9 to 3 Eastern Standard Time. And like Christy said, don't worry if you can't make it, because it's going to be recorded and you're going to get access to the recording. And so the whole day is filled with stuff like Pat Radel, and it's filled with speakers and presenters and resources and things. But today we're also going to give you a sneak peek of the actual dashboard, which is access that you get again for a lifetime to all of these resources. So
okay, so I'm our same some friends are here, Julie. I'm trying to catch up, but yeah, so keep going.
That's great. I'm glad. We're having trouble with Be Live this afternoon, if you're wondering what's going on and why we're on Zoom. So let's talk through the actual dashboard, and I have it here. Do you want me to just share and
keep
talk?
Going, Julie, because I'm still trying.
You're doing great. Okay. So sharing my screen again, I'm just going to show you kind of what we've got here. So it's anyone teaching anyone who is pre-K through 12. It's a one-day virtual inclusive extravaganza, and it's put on by the Down Syndrome Advocacy Foundation and LIU and Inclusive Schooling. And so we've got lots of things that you're going to learn: the how and what of inclusion, the why and how of inclusion, 20 ways to create more inclusive schools, how to support students who challenge you, a new approach to behavior. So Dr. Kate McLeod and I have a new book out about challenging behavior, and we're going to be talking about that. And Dr. Christy Pretti-Frontczak is going to be sharing all about creating warm, inclusive environments for students, helping students self-regulate. We've got all kinds of things. So if you're wondering who it's for parents, it's for teachers, it's for paraprofessionals, it's for administrators, it's for anyone who is designing inclusive virtual or in-person instruction. It's November 19th from 9 to 4. It's a live stream event.
And Julie, maybe I'll show the dashboard if you'll talk folks through like saying that they're here or how to get in the chat for the giveaway.
No, but I'm not sure I understand. I don't know how my watch doesn't know. So Christy, how do I find the chat? Because it's not showing up.
Oh, I don't know that I need somebody to type something to see if it's really working. Okay. Namida just did. So Lisa's here and Namida is here. And so I can't tell you how to find it, Julie. It's just it's on Facebook.
Okay, well, I'll go look for that for a second while you pull that up.
Yeah, or if you just tell folks what to do in the chat. See, there is where we are.
Hi, Namita. Awesome. Super glad you guys are here. here's what the dashboard looks like. And if you're like, what's a dashboard? It's basically, this is what you get access to if you sign up for the event.
So there's some logistical things. So we have a full day schedule, and you can look at it immediately and go, hey, when is Pat Radel? From 2:15 to 3 o'clock Eastern time. And you're like, darn it, I have to be teaching science then, or I have a circle, or I have a home visit. No problem. It'll be recorded. And so where will that recording come? We'll show you in a minute. So Julie, talk a little bit about the live sessions you just were, but kind of show them, like, which one don't we show them?
So let's just talk about, there's an opening session that Christy and I are doing that we love, called the why, what, and how of inclusion. And with that, we've got all kinds of links for you and resources for you to make sure that you really know kind of what is inclusive education and why we're doing it. And then notice the bottom bullet, going virtual. Here are 100 tips and tricks. We are gathering the very best inclusive tips and tricks that we can find to be sharing with you on this day on Thursday. So we're excited about that. And then we've got Pat, and Pat's going to be sharing. There he is. So he's going to be sharing all of those myths with a COVID update, which is going to be awesome. And then we're going to be talking about your school's inclusion quotient, which is a brand new concept about how do we measure how inclusive our schools are. And that I'm super thrilled about.
Yeah, you'll get the full measure, plus you'll get training directly from Julie and me on how to use the measure. So once you're enrolled, you get access to this dashboard, and then this dashboard is yours forever. And like Julie said, the new book she has out with Kate, I'll be doing a session on being a stress detective. And then this is what I was saying for all you Summer Leadership Institute folks, it'll looks like your 5-day event. We have all this on-demand stuff. So you can start watching this today. You don't have to wait till Thursday. And Julie, I'll go slowly and then you pick which one you want to highlight, okay?
Okay, well, Stephanie Trevor, you're on her right now. So Stephanie is a good friend of mine and is a person I met through actually a court case where she was being included. Well, the school system wasn't including her. And her mother, Casey, really worked hard to get her included. And I was an expert in that case. And she's going to share about her inclusive life. We've got Otto, who's a dear friend of ours, who types to communicate. He's actually joining us that day also. And so he'll be talking, he'll be typing in the chat and sharing a lot of his experiences. And we've got Jenna talking about the best practices for virtual learning, Dr. Jenna Rufo, who's joining us at Inclusive Schooling. We've got this whole brand new one. So this was not in Summer Leadership Institute. Brand new, and it's Jenna talking about the do's and don'ts of virtual learning. And she is joined by, if I were to guess, maybe 20 different students.
Yeah, from like maybe a 4 or 5-year-old all the way up. It's fabulous.
It's fabulous. And so she's saying, what do we need to do to really create the best inclusive environments that are virtual? And then you haven't seen this yet if you're in the Summer Leadership Institute. Beth Tolley has pulled together her very best work on restraint and seclusion. Now this is hard.
This alone is worth it.
I know this is really hard to talk about and think about, but probably you know that our students who have the most significant support needs are the most vulnerable students in our schools. And so she's going to talk all about what that looks like and what we can do about it. And then we've got race, equity, ability conversation. And that's going to be Christy and Isela Garcia and Juma Jordan together. And then we have the PBS series. So this just came out on PBS, a series of videos all about what is inclusion, how do we do it, what does it look like, etc.
Just to have a little bit of lightness and beauty in our day, we have LaDerek just doing one of his spoken words, Shelley Moore from 5 More Minutes, and our good friend Tony, just talking about these different intersectionalities of different identities. And we even have a thing for related service folks. And then I'm going to add something later today for paraprofessionals. So when Julie said, you know, this is for teachers and parents and directors and principals and related service folks and paraprofessionals, you'll see that even just in this on-demand stuff, there's something for everybody. And then just tons of things you can download that are fun and ways to stay connected and follow our podcast and all of that. But this is what we call a dashboard. And so if that was helpful to folks, yeah, so Lisa's already been in it and sharing stuff. So that's good. Thank you, Lisa, for helping us so much.
Yay. Yeah, so just so you know, that's going to be part of it. And then that dashboard exists. You have access to it. And that is not even the day. The day is going to be filled with incredible speakers talking about how to do this work virtually and in person.
And then those get recorded and then those get added to your dashboard. So that's why it's just like keeps growing and keeps growing. And so, Julie, I don't know how to do a giveaway. This is kind of hard. I'm trying to.
Here's what I think we should do, Christy. We're
Yeah.
going to be on tomorrow with Dr. Jenna Rufo.
Okay.
And is that tomorrow? Yeah. And then we're going to be on one more time. And so I think we'll go on Be Live on those 2 days if
Okay.
Be Live is working again, and we'll do our giveaways then.
Okay.
So watch our Facebook pages and you'll see when we're going to be on. If you know you'd like to win a seat, we'll give away a seat tomorrow or the next day. And if not, just come sign up and join us. It is any one of those pieces is well worth the price of admission. So
yeah, and I'll put the links to all of that in the Facebook thread. So there you go. That's our all in on Thursday. And hopefully you got some really good nuggets of ideas from our friend Pat and much more on Thursday. All right. That good?
That's great. Thanks, everybody.
Okay. I might just end the whole thing.
Okay.